Um, okay, so yeah, I'm Heather Conroy. I'm the director of Evolve Coaching, and we support individuals with disabilities through education, employment, and the arts. And as I talk about the work that we do, I'm going to give you a visual and walk through our website. So hopefully that's good. And sometimes well, I don't often do this, but usually, and I always try to multitask, but that's not possible for me. So I like to tell people that I worked at the Olive Garden for many years, and I always had to walk people through the menu, and it was one of my least favorite things to do. But what a transferable skill that is for today, right? Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I can see you. And Allison, feel free. I'm going to not pay attention to the chat, so feel free to interrupt me if you'd like. And like I said, I'll just walk through the website. So we are Evolve. We primarily support college age folks, job seekers, but really we're working with people 17 and up for the most part. Doesn't mean we don't occasionally work with children or adolescents earlier than 17, but that's usually our age group. And I'll explain why as we talk about the programs. So our core belief is that we all have talents to share. So that's really important to us. And so our work at Evolve is to figure out a way to ensure that everybody is able to share their talents in whatever way that takes shape. So we're committed to helping adults with autism and other developmental disabilities meet their goals that we also help them establish at times. Sometimes people don't come to us with a clear goal of, well, I want to be an accountant, or I want to be a teacher, or I want to work at a restaurant. We have a client right now who did come to us with a very clear goal. I want to be a barista. But people don't always come to us with those clear goals. So sometimes part of our work is helping people establish goals and think about what are some of their skills and what experiences have they had that they enjoyed, and what are some things that they're not very interested in doing. And we can help them develop a path. So I'm going to talk about our programs. If you go down here, you can see we have college coaching, employment coaching, arts programming, and we also offer trainings for employers and for organizations similar to this. But really today we're just talking about Evolve. So I'm going to go to college coaching first. This is our sort of keystone program. So as Allison said, I'm a clinical social worker. I originally started working with children on the spectrum and really just found that that was a group of people that I wanted to support. Worked with kids in North Carolina and in Pennsylvania. And then when I was in grad school, it really became obvious to me the lack of resources that exist for adults, particularly with autism, but with all developmental disabilities. And as a result, I was working with our now board president, Carolyn Hare, at a wonderful organization to offer college coaching. And we've since established Evolve to do that same work. So sadly, outcomes aren't that great for folks who go to college with developmental disabilities. And we are hoping to, and we think we have changed that for the folks who have worked with us. Our rates of graduation are 92%. We also hear great things from our college students. And sometimes that means that students might take an extra semester or an extra year, but we're not, dragging this out forever for the most part. It happens every now and then. But what's important to us is that people, meet their goals in a way that works for them. And sometimes that is encouraging students to take a reduced course load in the beginning so that they can experience success. It's also important to us that, at least for the most part, that we're not working with students all 4 years of school. We find that about a year and a half of support to 2 years looks really good and helps people to build those skills. And we also find that it's really hard for people to leave high school where they've received a lot of support, maybe move out of their parents' or caregivers' home, and learn all of these skills all at once. And I think even looking back for any of us who went to post-secondary education, it was kind of like jarring for, I think, everyone who's experienced it. And so when you add the layers of people with disabilities are sometimes getting additional support in high school, getting additional support from parents, maybe haven't had some experiences that other folks their age have had. It makes it challenging. So we are helping people with socializing and with meeting their academic goals, just trying to help students have a well-rounded experience at the university level. And I'll talk about, so each of our programs, well, almost all of them are covered by the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. So if you're curious about funding, that's definitely an option for people. Our work is done remotely or in person. Usually we go to people's campuses, though that certainly is not something we've been doing. Though I imagine in the fall, we'll do a little bit more of that. Time will tell. And sometimes people choose to pay privately, and we also do get some grant funding to assist people who have financial need for a sliding scale basis. Okay, so that's our college coaching. Are there any questions about that before I move on to something else?
There are no questions in the
Sounds good. Yeah. So employment coaching is something that we do as well. So we support people, again, they may not be entirely sure what they'd like to do for work. And we can help people try and determine what's a possible path for them. One of the things that we do with the Office of Voc Rehab is work trial experiences. So unfortunately, that's only for certain age groups. So that's for age 17 to 21, if you have an open case with OVR. Though again, we do these things privately as well, but we'll do work trials to give people sort of just the opportunity to dip their toe and try new things. And even if it's something that, oh, I didn't like that. Well, guess what? Most of us have had a job that we did and we didn't like it, but it helped us choose the right path for us. And so those are the conversations that we have with people very often. Though usually we are getting, maybe someone's like, I want to be a geologist. Well, it's hard to jump into that field. But, is there something else you can do? Could you work at a farm? We start there. We see how comfortable you are doing that sort of work. And then if you get dirty and you don't like it, maybe geology is appropriate, maybe it's not. And those pieces of data can be really useful. And just some focal areas. So we do career exploration and job shadowing. We help people structure the job search. A lot of our work is helping people stay accountable. So it's one thing to set a goal, but we're here to help people be accountable to those goals and try and encourage people and remind people some of the things that they've set, some of the goals that they've set for themselves, because life happens. And I think, again, probably everyone in this meeting space has set a goal that they haven't met. And I will be the first to admit that. So we're here to help people with that executive functioning, the planning, the prioritizing, figuring out what is a realistic, reasonable goal for me to try and achieve, and what are the first steps that I need to take towards that. Okay, so that's in a nutshell employment coaching. Again, we work with OVR, we work with people privately, and that can be anything from playing a behind the scenes role to helping someone find a job. And then once they get work, maybe they come back and debrief with us about, oh, here's how my first week went. I had a little trouble understanding the social expectation. Can we talk through that? All the way up to being on site with someone at a job site.
Heather, if I could just interrupt for a second.
Absolutely.
You mentioned OVR. Could you just explain a little bit about who they are and what their function is?
Yeah, so that's the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. Essentially, if you have a disability, then, and I do have some resources later that I'll share with you. And I can even put the link in the chat at that point. But you can go to and it's a simple Google, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation in Pittsburgh. You can open a case if you have a disability. Right now, there likely is a bit of a waiting list, but it shouldn't be too long. And they have rehabilitation counselors who can meet with you to establish a job goal, maybe get you resources for college, even support with driving sometimes, or transportation training in general. But yeah, they want to support you with your job goal. And as long as that goal requires needing to learn to drive, they might be able to support with that. If it requires getting a college degree, they might be able to support with that. And so it's really everything is on a case-by-case basis. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush and say this is everything that OVR does, but it's a great resource. Assistive technology is another thing that they offer people. Evaluations. So it's a good resource. It's a government agency. It's, there are hoops, it's a process, but I highly recommend taking a look at it if you have someone who's interested in working at some point.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? Okay, so let me go. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. I didn't think about that part. Okay, so our arts program. We do a lot of different arts programs at this point. Again, so we started doing the college support, and I have behavioral training and I'm a clinical social worker, as we said, and it's always really important for me to find people's motivations and figure out, well, how do I help people get to where they want to go, and how do we do it in a way that is hopefully fun and engaging. Can't always do that, but that's always the goal, at least. And so as a result, we did for 9 years the Joey Travolta Film Camp. So some of you may have heard of that. And then I'll just jump to this summer. We are doing Future Camp. It's our second year of Future Camp. This is Parag Shantigol, who was our camp personality, let's say. This is him doing a morning workout, and he's spelling out evolve. So we love this photo, this photo montage. It's 10 days. It's July 26th through August 6th. It is our favorite 2 weeks out of the year. Sorry if you can hear sirens. Hopefully that'll go away soon. It's our favorite 2 weeks by far. We get to have lots of fun. We will do performance classes, writing classes. Hopefully we're interviewing 3 folks this week to really nail this down, but hopefully we'll have an animation instructor. That's been really hard to find in the Pittsburgh area. Writing, performance, visual arts was the thing that I left out, which was really interesting to do online last year, but it was really great. We loved it. It was just fantastic. So I just can't say more about it, but when we started doing the film camp with Joey Travolta, and now we've done the Future Camp, we just kind of saw people light up. We saw people work really hard to finish a project. People who said, I don't like working hard, but we saw them do it. And we were like, this is gold. What's going on here? We got people really excited about things, and it was a nice opportunity. And it's also we find a nice opportunity for us to get to know people. We really get to see people engaging and, being immersed in projects and see maybe where they struggle and where they really excel. And this is also something that OVR covers. So this is great. Or extended school year, that's also an option too. We are going to be at Winchester Thurston School this year. That's Future Camp.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said you're having a hard time finding somebody for the animation.
Yeah.
I know somebody, I don't know what her schedule is, but
Sure.
who would we contact if she is free and maybe, would be interested in this? Oh,
amazing. Okay. So I don't think it's on here. Yeah. Joe at evolve-coaching.org is who you can contact.
Okay, I'll just take a screenshot.
Oh, thank you so much. And I can type it in the chat too when I'm done.
I can't promise you because I don't know what her schedule is this summer, but.
Sure. Thanks. Hey, we'll definitely be happy to talk with her. We are trying to nail that down maybe by Friday. We have our last interview on Friday, but if she's interested, we'd love to talk with her. So thank you. Yeah. Any questions about camp? Okay. So here you can apply here. It's just a Google form, pretty simple. So again, this is our, usually we have our college programming. As a result of all the college work we were doing, we were like, we really need to do employment support. We want to make sure that people are supported throughout their sort of process to becoming fully independent. And then we were doing these 2 weeks of camp, and it was so fun and it was great. And we were like, we just need to do more of this. And so we now have at least one gallery show each year that will be paired with our fundraiser on November 6th, which is at the Brewhouse Gallery. It's just an opportunity for any artist with a developmental disability to show their artwork in the show. And we have our artists, our jurors too. So usually it's an autistic juror who helps us choose pieces. Just a great time. We did a show with Roadkill Gallery recently, which is a great name. And we did that at Hop Farm Brewery. So that was like our first entrance into the world in April. And we had like 200 people come. So we were a little shocked because we were all just hanging out at home. But it was really fantastic. Another thing we're doing is monthly creative challenges. This is a free program if you have anyone who's interested. This is every month, there's a theme. And people work towards a specific theme. I remember the most recent one for May was candy. so photographers and painters and sculptors all had the same theme, and they had to figure out, candy isn't too hard, but just a fun opportunity for them to talk about their process. They meet twice a month, they get the theme, and then 2 weeks later, they work together to kind of say like, oh, I'm stuck on this, or I have these ideas. Will you take a look at my work? And they critique one another. And it's a nice, safe space for that. So I think it's a great program. Film production. So if, this is something that we're really excited to share. Parallels is a film. It's 14 minutes long. If you go to the website, you can watch it here. Also, WQED did a behind the lens documentary piece on the film. It was a majority autistic and disabled crew who created this film from start to finish. They wrote it, they filmed it. It was just like such a fantastic process. They were part of the casting process, and some folks acted in the piece. But it tells the story of two brothers, one who's on the spectrum and one who is not. And I think it's a lovely, just, opportunity. It's one story of autism. It is not, and it's fiction, by the way. It's not representative of the entire autistic community, but I'm happy with how it turned out. And we have audio description available, as well as closed captioning, which was also done by our participants. So we're excited about that as well. This was the CS show with the gallery. So, and then the other piece is pretty self-explanatory. I'll just go really quickly to this, our inclusion training. So we can work with employers, organizations, groups to have very simple discussions up to, having really detailed support around how to hire folks with disabilities and do that in a way that, works for everyone. We talk about the benefits of inclusivity in all its forms. So that's just another thing that we do. And if you have any questions about that, certainly be happy to answer them. And I think I gave you a lot of information, but how was my menu walkthrough? Are you going to have any appetizers? That's pretty much it, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any. And I also have some resources, but I want to pause here.
Okay.
Please feel free to jump in. You don't have to raise your hand.
Okay, I'm not shy. I know I can't help it. Mrs. Doversberger in the first grade insisted that I raise my hand. I am a retired sheet metal worker, but at 56, I went to IU Bloomington and got a degree in what is now recognized as neuroscience. I had to go the year after I got my degree in 2013, they started the official neuroscience program. I took everything that's required for that except the organic chemistry, which was too rough for me. But I don't understand that. I put all that work in there and I couldn't memorize the 4 different, if anybody's familiar with organic chemistry, you've got those 4 different things that you have to put in the right orders to synthesize your final product. But yet I can hear a joke and 40 years later, I can tell you after hearing it one time, it verbatim, right? But anyway, I did that to work with the autistic community. And I got to do that through 2 different organizations in Bloomington, Life Designs First and Stone Belt. which I got to do for 5 years before I became disabled myself. My disability just happens to be simply this nephrostomy tube that's draining my kidney. And the population that I worked with, there were a lot of what we termed aggressive outburst, for whatever reason. Of course, you can't blame those people when they're trapped inside of those bodies and, they have to vent some frustration. So the doctors were concerned that, they might jerk out the neph tube and whatnot. However, the reason I came here tonight is with the pandemic getting a bit under control, and we came to Pittsburgh for 2 reasons, but the number one reason was UPMC Medical Center has an excellent kidney clinic. And the doctors here are saying, there's other things that we can try. So we're trying those things, and we're getting some slight improvement with my plumbing system. So the tube may be able to be removed soon, hopefully. Cross my fingers, but I'm not holding my breath. But anyway, if it does, I would love to get back into this kind of work. I do know that I was injured, had a wrist injury, and for 14 weeks while it was healing up, instead of just being off of work, I do computers, and I'm good at accounting and stuff, so they put me in records. And I didn't know if you guys needed anybody in those behind the scenes areas, or if you could give me some people I could talk to.
Sure. Yeah. I'd be happy to, I'm going to put my email in here for everybody. So if you'd like to email me and we can talk about it, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, in hindsight, I wish I would have gotten into this, 40 years ago, because the 5 years that I got to spend with my guys and girls, ages ranged from like 16 up to 92.
Sure.
And I absolutely loved it. It was
That's great. Yeah.
very, very fulfilling, very rewarding. Not always the easiest thing to do, but it was definitely worthwhile.
Great. Yeah. No, I'd be happy to talk with you. Feel free to send me a note.
So I don't know, do you deal with people that are, as they were termed back in, the 2 places I worked at, more higher we like to talk about people who are college bound or job seekers, because I think regardless of, a functioning label, for instance, I think everybody is able to work. And so if someone has that as a goal, regardless of that label or even ability to communicate, like that is something that we would be happy to support. So those are the parameters we work within: college bound and employment seekers. We only had 2 people that could go, even think about going to college. Most of the jobs that they held, the people that I worked with and helped with the employment coaching through our vocational part, was just, they were working like at pizzerias or baristas and washing.
Yeah, there's a wide range. I mean, we have folks who, just like the population as a whole, there's such diversity within the autism population. And, we definitely see that as well. And we learn things we never learned before. Like, I don't know how to brew coffee because I don't even drink it. So I learned things that I never expected to. So yeah, it's been great. But and I also help people get jobs in fields that are, frankly, above my head. So yeah, it's quite a range.
So
Jerry, it seemed like, yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to interrupt for a minute because I know Heather very well and Evolve Coaching very well. And I'd like to put in a plug for the services that, my daughter has received through Evolve, which started with, it's kind of, you took it through the website. Well, that's kind of what Alana has done, is kind of gone through your website with starting college, starting first at the Art Institute. And you, I believe, went downtown with her and helped her learn the ropes. When the Art Institute was not a good fit and she transferred to community college, CCAC, you helped her. I think you took a bus downtown with her and then the subway and showed her walk to the campus.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
campus. So we experienced firsthand the services, and then after Alana transitioned into CCAC, she ultimately didn't need Heather and the support of Evolve, but it was very helpful. And then the film camp and the arts programming have just been amazing. It's really good that the arts program, so the film camp was a wonderful experience, but it was 2 weeks a year and then it was over. And it made a huge impact in these kids' lives for 2 weeks, and then there was nothing. So what's been so great is that Evolve has now been providing arts programming beyond just 2 weeks a year. And Alana just participated in what was it called? Roadkill?
It was called CS, but it was in partnership with Roadkill Gallery. It's because they usually do a pop-up truck, and that kind of plays into that. But yeah, she had 2 pieces in there, two dogs.
She did, and it was a really wonderful experience. So and our next step will be working with Evolve for coaching, job coach, goal setting, and how to find a job and how to have a job. But so we've seen how Evolve works from the very beginning to now what our needs are. But the other thing I wanted to say is when you're talking about what Evolve does, you really do work with a spectrum. It is a spectrum, and you work with a spectrum. You worked with Alana's friend who was the math and computer science major at CMU. And you work with Alana at CCAC, and you work with kids who don't make it to college, but need help with vocational support. So I can't say enough about what you do, because, and the need that you fill that nobody else is filling. That's all.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Heather, could I ask a question about just getting started with some of these programs? It seemed like there's you have a lot of focus on the arts. How would you introduce someone to that kind of a program?
So I'll clarify that we mostly work with people who are already at least budding artists. So I don't know, we're not someone who usually is going to help someone gain that skill, though there is a fantastic program, Creative Citizen Studios, who I would highly recommend in case, someone who's interested in just like dabbling and seeing if it's something for them. But if you have some interest, really what we try to offer is the creative challenges. So even if you are just kind of dipping your toe, you could participate in those creative challenges meeting. I will say too, that at least for now, mostly because no one's ready to meet in person, that is happening virtually still. So via Zoom or Google Meet. But I do see that maybe shifting gradually. Right. So that's a nice way, because you could use crayons on paper and still participate in that group. You could do anything that makes sense for you, all the way up to participating in a show and having a piece in that show, be it in November or any other shows that we have throughout the year. And we help people to, for that CS show, something we really wanted to push people outside of their comfort zones to do more of was to establish an Instagram page or have a PayPal account so that people could pay them directly, or Venmo or something like that, which is something that most adults their age have. But getting them to do it and say, oh my God, I have to connect my bank account. This is really stressful, but we gave them a reason to do that. And we're always trying to find those mechanisms. Does that answer your question? I mean,
sort of. And I'm wondering where else you go besides actually the arts, music as well, or just social groupings, or any. Yeah. I'm just wondering, what the possibilities are.
Yeah. So I'll say another lovely music group. Oh God, what's it called? I feel terrible that I can't remember this. Band Together. is a great nonprofit that we partner with. So they do music. They have open mics and opportunity, and it could even be spoken word. You wouldn't have to play music, but they have nice music programs. We haven't really gotten into the music programs outside of the camp where that does happen, but I would say look to band together, and there may be other groups that I'm not thinking of at the moment. And something I didn't mention related to the arts is that we do work with and contract with people who've been through the camp or have worked at the camp to do video products. So if you have a company or a nonprofit or a group who might like a PSA or a commercial for the work that you're doing, that's something that we can support. And we've worked, thanks to FISA Foundation, we were able to be trained in accessibility. So we can do the closed captioning and we can do audio description. So even if you have a piece that's complete, our team of contractors could complete that for you also.
Heather,
Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about how you work with people when they don't know what their goals are, and what does that process look like?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's going into the community and just kind of seeing what people are motivated by, seeing if they are confident enough to order for themselves. We talk to people. It's a lot of interviewing. Like, what do you like to do? What do you not want to do? Sometimes that's an easier question for people. What is something you've tried and you were just like, I am never going to do that again? Okay, that's good information to have. You know, do you like talking with people, or would you rather be behind the scenes? But I will say that I think all of us, we try to push people who may have been trained by society to think that they're not good at socializing with people, or to think that they should be behind the scenes and not only, but you know what I mean, only be a stalker. Like, I can only be in the back of the grocery store because I'm not good at socializing. When a lot of the time, no, you are good at socializing. If you want to do that, great. So it's a lot of like, what do you want? Because even the people who say, you know, I can't work the cash register, I'm not a retail person, or like, I'm good at the computer and that's it. You know, I don't want to be on the phone. We try to have conversations about like, well, why is that? You know, and do you get any social support or interaction during your week aside from going to work? Because if you just go to work and you don't talk to anybody there and you don't talk to anybody at home, we might push you outside of your comfort zone a little bit there too. But yeah, just a lot of like, what are your preferences? And we do informational interviews. So if someone is thinking about a career or just a field to work in, we might get them to talk with someone else in the field, and we'd be present for that to sort of guide them, think about what questions to ask. That's been really valuable. Getting them the opportunity, you know, again, you know, COVID makes things challenges, but hopefully we're moving in the right direction here. But even just seeing a work environment and thinking like, what do you think about this space? You know, because sometimes, again, people are told, well, you're good at this. And, you know, sometimes that's because people know them really well, so they tell them that, but also it's good for them to make those decisions and come to those realizations themselves. So we encourage people to do that. Those are some examples. Yeah.
Great.
Heather?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Heather, are you
Yes.
doing any social skills or life skills groups now?
Yes. Yeah.
you-
So
Add a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for reminding me. So we've got, usually they're sort of, I think about them as being tied to specific programs. So we have a group for college students, and that meets weekly, though it's not happening right now. Our summer group is sort of just a mixture of both. But we have a group for college students to talk about the anxieties of school, the challenges they're faced with, what it's like to be a roommate with someone, what it's like to live alone for the first time, advocating for yourself with professors, and then also just socializing with people, which is really important, of course. And then we also have another group that is a little more employment focused, but again, usually the things that we're doing, We have had groups where we're really focused on like, let's get a resume together. Everyone's going to make a LinkedIn account. Like those are things that we do, but we really try to break it up with things that are, we have like sort of hidden curricula. You know, it's important, I think, for people to come and want to have fun. So for instance, our summer group, they're going to the arts festival, and they're still doing a lot of things online as well. But everyone has a goal that they're working on. And so we check in with people and provide support with, you know, from one person to the next to see how they're doing with that goal. So those are the groups that we have going on. Like I said, right now, those two groups are sort of combined at the moment. People just want to do fun things in the summer. And those are at no cost to people who do coaching with us. And there is a fee for people who do not. Lori, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Hi. So as a therapist, a psychotherapist, I'm curious to know what kinds of resources or pipelines you have set up for people who clearly need personal therapy in order to enter the workforce or even consider it, because it takes a lot of internal skills to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of our staff we are trained as therapists. So most of us are, but not everyone. And we do partner with therapists all the time. So, you know, Lori, especially if this is a group that you tend to work with, we're always looking for more referrals. Like we can't get enough referrals to send people to.
You know, the other problem now is finding.
Well, at this very moment, yeah, it's really,
at this moment, it really is a problem.
It is. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, no, but we encourage people. In fact, our application, one of the questions is, do you work with a therapist? Because if people don't, that's just really good for us to know. And oftentimes we are making referrals. Even, you know, sometimes it's just, you know, why don't you go check out the counseling center at your university? Or sometimes that's like, there are limits to what those systems can offer people sometimes, depending on the need of the rest of the school and the expertise of the staff there as well. But yeah, I wouldn't say we have names. That's our pipeline. I mean, we give referrals and we work in tandem. We really try to work as a team. So that we're not doubling up on, you know, the support that we're providing, and also so that we can give the therapists some insight with permission as to what we're seeing, you know, and what students are reporting or job seekers are reporting. But I absolutely agree with you. It's important.
Hi, Heather. It's Luke Lasky's sister here.
I know. Nice to see your face.
You too. I work, for all of you that don't know me, I work for JRS as the Development and Communications Director. And my younger brother does not have autism, but he has speech apraxia and other developmental disabilities like fine motor issues and things related to that. And I just wanted to say that Evolve really does connect the dots for people in a way that once you're in, I feel like he's always thought of in appropriate situations and contacted if it's something that is relatable to his skills. It wasn't just a one and done. It's really a community for him and a way, you know, he's not the best at being proactive for himself, and it really has helped him do that. And I just wanted to remind everyone that people without autism as well are helped, and that you guys have done a great job for my brother. Thanks. And I wanted to say hello.
Hi. Yeah, it's really good. I figured that was you, but and I wanted to share, I'll just share something that Luke worked on. I didn't want to out him, but since his sister did. So this is Open Up Pittsburgh, and they're just a great organization as well. They're in Lawrenceville. Another potentially really good resource for this group too. They do yoga and theater programs and improv stuff, which, you know, is of interest to Luke for sure too. But he helped do the commercial for Open Up in partnership with Evolve and some other players as well. So yeah, thanks. Why don't I just share too that I partner with Autism Connection of PA, who is now partnered with, I don't know officially the term if they've merged or were acquired or whatever, but with Achieva. Autism Connection of PA. So they have many support groups for the autism community, and one of them is a parent group. And so you can certainly, again, my email is in there, so you can send me, and yes, it is, right? Yeah. You can send me an email if you are interested. This is for parents of adults, parents or caregivers or siblings of adults on the spectrum. So really 18 and up makes the most sense for this group. And I'll just quickly, so I'll give you a sense. Let me share my screen one more time. So we meet via Google Meet at the moment. This might be small for you guys to see, but just I'm starting to put together a list of resources. There are so many resources. You'll see JRS is on here, for example. And this certainly isn't meant to be exclusionary, but I'm sure there are things that I have left out because, again, we're just starting. But it's a long list already. But these are just some of the things that we've talked about with our parent group. It is really a lot of resource sharing. So if you'd like to join the group, if that makes sense for you, stop sharing, then, this is something you can have access to. If there's anything, autism related that you're thinking, it would be really nice if this existed, you can feel free to email me. And if that exists, I'm happy to share that resource with you. Yeah, I can. Sorry, Caitlin, you sent me a direct message. I didn't realize, but I can chat with you about getting you at least these resources that you can add to your own list. I'm always fearful that someone's going to be offended because I forgot to put their name on there or something, but I'm happy to give you the list and you can share it how you'd like.
Heather, I'm going to just introduce myself. My name is Christine Brookins, and I am the mother of an adult son with autism. But professionally, I'm a financial advisor. And because I've lived my entire professional career as the mother of a child with special needs, the focus of my practice is special needs planning.
Great.
So if anyone ever needs a financial resource, you can feel free to add me to that list.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to do that. And I will make a note. I actually have a webinar series that I've put together. We started just last week, actually, but mine is resources for people in the special needs community. So I'll add you to my distribution list so that you get the information and can get it out there. And it happens to be that next month's topic is autism. I have two speakers, one that speaks on adults and the other on children.
Great. Okay, perfect. That's great. Thanks for introducing yourself. Nice to meet you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And, if anyone wants to join our email list, you can just email me too, and I'll add you on there. I don't have a direct link at the moment, but you can go to the website too. It's at the bottom. We're doing everything we can. I'm not trained to be a business person, despite my years at the Olive Garden and many other restaurants. But I am doing my darndest to just make sure that we're telling people more about the work that we do, because that is not my forte. And we often hear from people, I wish that we had heard of you sooner. Or we meet a college student who's, in their junior year, and we're like, man, we wish we had started working with you sooner so that we could have, you could have experienced more success. Hopefully, we can't guarantee that we're going to, be magical or anything, but it's really important to start to build those skills as early as possible. So feel free to join the email list, because that's one thing that I'm doing. We're at least sending a little more messaging out into the world.
Yeah. If you're not good at connecting things from the chat, I will be sending out an email to everyone with a survey about this program, but I'll be sure to include Heather's information. When I get in touch with her, but haven't written down the email address. Are there other questions? Lori?
This is not a question. It's just another wrinkle. I'm the grandmother of a lovely 12-year-old guy who's on the spectrum. And I watch my daughter work so hard and be so caring, and all the research and the time and the effort it has taken for her in another city, she's not here, to construct a good experience for him has been just amazing to watch. So frankly, I'm just thanking everybody for what you all do to pay attention to people who need our special attention and deserve it. And thank you. Just, it's a big thank you.
We're almost out of time. Heather, did you want to share any other resources before we finish?
Let me take a look here. Oh, OVR, let me get that link in. Thanks for prompting me because that was helpful. So I'm going to give a link to Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. Again, it's a process. It's not a fun process, but it is there's a good ROI. So I would say to look into it if you have someone who's a job seeker or who would like to consider getting back into the world of work, or someone who maybe is underemployed, which is obviously something that we see a lot with various populations of people with disabilities. So maybe they'd like support with getting a job that more aligns with their goals or interests and talents. They can be employed and still get support from OVR as long as they want to make that career change. Let's see, let me go back here and see if there's anything else that really stands out. I would like to, if it's okay, I'd like to give a little bit of a plug for the Clubhouse. I think that, the Howard Levin Clubhouse, I think that it's a really excellent resource. And I don't know what things are looking like now. I haven't touched base with JRS about that specifically, but I have a little bit of experience working in the psych rehab world. And there is also a program with UPMC that offers psych rehab services too. That is probably worth noting. If you have any interest in that, you can feel free to reach out to me about that too. They have a little bit of, training around autism in that program as well. But the Clubhouse is great because it allows people, again, to like dip their toe into the work world, get support from people who are trained to support them in that area, and also socialize and have a safe space to go. And so I think that's an excellent resource. I think those are the most important things that I would mention. Well, let me say one more thing. So Assert, and again, not being exclusionary because Autism Connection also has a ton of excellent resources, but if you go to the Assert website, paautism.org, they just have a lot of information, and it may even pertain to you if you're not a family that is affected by autism. That's a government site too, so there's a lot of information, but it's one of the prettier ones I've seen, so pretty easy to navigate. So yeah, lots of stuff there. Social stories. It's pretty nicely broken out to show you different categories of resources that exist. So I think those are the resources that are most pertinent to this talk. But again, I'm happy to take, if you want to send me an email, if you think of something later in the week or later in the month, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to connect with you. And thanks for listening. For your
Thanks
attention.
so much. Thank you, Heather. And thank you to all of you for spending your afternoon with us. I learned a lot, and I work in this field, so I hope you got something out of it as well. There's a lot going on in Pittsburgh, in Western Pennsylvania. We, I think, are very lucky with the resources that we have, but certainly it's always good to learn about new ones and see what's out there, especially for young adults and people in school. I think it's a particular age group that really needs support. So thank you. This is our last of our spring series of programs, but I will be sending out an evaluation probably tomorrow morning. If you have a chance, please let me know what you thought of this, but also what other topics are interesting to you or you would like us to cover, because we're planning for next year. And yeah, thank you to Becky, the captioner, who's done a wonderful job. And thanks again, Heather. We really appreciated your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet everybody. Have a good night.
Right.
Thanks, Heather.